art was always something that I sort of toyed around with when I was younger, but honestly, I just thought the people who were able to make things just had a superpower that I didn't have. It was only until I was 18 that I watched a documentary by one of my favorite comic artists, Todd McFarlane, to see that he sort of had a similar background, and it was just sort of elbow grease and hard work that got him to be able to learning how to draw. And I sort of started a similar journey where I was just absorbing as much as I could, learning as fast as I could. My drawing routine is just draw as much as possible. Comics are very routine in general, just in how you have to lay your thumbnails out and be very sort of planned on how to come up with the final product. But everything I do sort of begins in thumbnails and sketchbook drawings. My process as it stands now is sort of a combination of mixing drawing on the fly with a planned process. I have this book that I use for sort of planned elements, the thumbnails, the bullet points, but it's also just a matter of picking out the pages that I see in my head and figuring out how to sort of improvise my way throughout those to have a finished story. But as far as dialogue goes, all the dialogue is pretty much improvisation. Comics are difficult in that you have your page as a composition, but you also have all the panels, which are their own composition. There's a lot of narratives that happen in a comic book, and the visual one is by far the most important, I believe. So if the reader is lost in any point of your composition or narrative, then the whole thing sort of starts to come apart. So composition is incredibly important in what I do, and that's why I think the thumbnails are so important, because you sort of see that before you developed onto a new step. I have so many different inspirations as far as creators go that I like to pick different things out of, and I like to just sort of put all of these things into a melting pot and pick out different things I can learn from different people. I think in the future I will try to just communicate my stories more effectively, because that, I think right now, that's the most difficult thing I have with comics is I think my drawing is there. I like the way that it looks, but just making sure that what I'm communicating is as clear as possible. Currently, I'm working on my biggest project to date, which is this Nut comic series. I'm working on the first issue, and I plan to have it be a 4-issue mini-series, and I'm just wrapping up the first issue. Nut is a character that is sort of the culmination of all these thoughts I've been having over the last year about sort of disenfranchisement and pessimism and how to survive in the worst of things, and how art and memories can help you and empower you in those times. It will be published by myself and my company, Row 7 Comics, and it will also be available in stores across central Minnesota, the big stores in Minneapolis, and my store, Granite City Comics, that I work at. My future is sort of kind of I can think of it as a gloomy subject. I think comic books, I don't know if it's a good career to start up in, and I don't know if I want to work for other companies. I really like just making my own stories, and for me, I just want to be able to not be homeless, do this, full-time preferably, but, if doing this also means that I have to work part-time, then I'm happy doing that too.